But you can be tough with people still, but not criticise them. So you can have conversations. Well, that didn't hit the mark. Let's have a look at how you can do it next time. So,
if you're listening to this, you might feel that, oh my goodness, if that's the stat, I might as well just give up hope because that's the stat. And we teach you something else completely. We go, if you know where your starting point is.
It's like sports. If you don't want to win, if you aren't willing to give effort, then you're not gonna win. You know, you step onto the pitch, you're gonna lose. And if you haven't got that as in an organisation, you've got no chance of being successful.
There's a whole 9-point drop in the level of engagement or disengagement at the middle management level in organizations. That got us really curious as to what might be the reason that our change and transformation efforts are less stickier than we hope them to be. Where do we become stuck? So by the end of this episode, you're going to hear some practical ways that you can remedy all of that. You're going to learn how to predict, so anticipate change, prepare, design the changes that you need around what it is that your people are wanting and your market is actually wanting, and pivoting. So you're going to make a decision by the end of the show as to whether your strategy is to pivot or to pioneer. If you are a first-time viewer, welcome to the show. Please drop us a like and press our subscribe button. If you are returning, so good to have you back. Let's see where the show takes us. All right, so it's Sunday. Where are we? The 3rd of May. Welcome back. If you caught us on episode 1 and 2, or let's say episode 2, you might remember Phil. Phil Al joins us again, no stranger to the show. Really excited for you to be here again,
Thank
Phil.
you.
And we know we're not going to make this one the last one. Because these conversations just have a way of needing more time. To breathe and needing more time to bring out the bits and bobs that we don't quite get to finish in our conversation. So the other day, not too long ago, I just have to tell the story to viewers because this show really is about how practitioners and systems deal with change while it's live. So it's sense making what change is about while the ground is shifting beneath your feet, quite literally. So the Inside Reinvention podcast really is about how we live in change while the ground is shifting beneath our feet. So did our ground shift beneath our feet? Absolutely. On the human side, and we're going to delve into the human side of change often and probably all the time in these episodes. I called Phil and I said, Phil, I'm bringing to you all of my biology. I am in full-on fight-flight mode. I didn't say this to him, but all I felt like doing was to postpone the show until the next best date. Phil did what he does really well, as Phil as I guess, but also as a practitioner. And he was able to ground me really well. We spoke about how the format for the show is going to change because 3 people versus 2 people is a completely different game.
It is.
For me, I don't get to pause when you are speaking to guest number 2. So this is going to be really, really interesting. Yeah. I'm going to have less time to pause, but I also know that, Phil, when you said, well, I guess it's fight mode. It's when I reach my moment of readiness. So we're going to speak about willingness and readiness throughout this episode, actually. Was I willing? Yes. Was there fear? Yes. Were you able to identify it? Yes, because I told you. And I suppose that is where we want to be going with everything that we share. If you are feeling distressed, perplexed, whatever it is, because something is not working the way you are used to it working, that's precisely because you're human. And it's actually a very good thing. Please would you say what you said to me earlier on about...
Which one was that?
Yeah, you said to me, if you're not fearful or you're not nervous...
Yeah, if you're not fearful or not nervous, then you're not ready. And it's a natural response of the body to prepare us to be at our best. Lots of performers, sports stars feel that as well. It never goes away. And it is important to recognize that and normalize it rather than demonize it. And I think that's really important. But you have to manage it because it can get overwhelming and make you less at your best than you could be. So it's a double-edged sword. It is a double-edged sword. But also the other thing is if we wait till we think we're ready, we're going to wait a long time. So I learned a long time ago when I was working at Deloitte many years ago. I was young, many, like 30, 40 years ago. And their kind of advice was just say yes.
Just say yes.
Just say yes. We'll work out how we're going to do it later. And that's been my kind of little mantra in my head ever since. It's got me into some scrapes over the years, however. But I think it's a good thing to have in mind, particularly in this kind of era where things are going so quick.
Interesting you say that. I was lucky enough to have a coach who once said to me, and this could be about 17 years ago, but he said, you have to say yes and figure the thing out as you go. And it's a crazy concept to say yes and not know where this is going to go. That was 17 years ago when somebody could say to me, take it easy. You know, you can do this, but you can do this on the side and you can build this while this is in motion.
Yeah.
But 17 years ago is not that long ago. But the world wasn't moving as fast as it is currently moving. And now we're in a place where you actually have to learn how to do that all day.
Every day. Yeah.
It's where nobody gets to deal with certainty anymore. Nobody gets to know exactly where it is that they're going. Everybody gets to work on a strategy, which kind of tells you where it is that they want to be going. But the question is, and it's not the question that we want to really delve into today, but how do you get people comfortable to work towards a strategy that's meant to take them to a place where they don't necessarily know what's going to come and greet them along the way and precisely how they're going to get there? And I want to...
But also there's that thing I was going to ask you just before you said uncertainty is kind of normal nowadays, was that I think people who maybe grew up in a more certain world think certainty is solid and reliable, but it's a myth, I think, nowadays. It really is a myth. So wherever you work, whatever you've got going on in your life, if you think it's going to be stable and certain, it's probably not going to be. And then you have to be, it's an internal process to get comfortable with that. Some of us can do it more than others based on personality. But yeah, so that is something that is ever present for people nowadays, as you say.
And I know some of us have a lot more to be able to deal with, depending on how our nervous systems work. There's a lot of anxiety and those types of issues that people are dealing with now. And there's good reason for all of that. But can you learn the art or the skill of being okay and very comfortable with uncertainty? Is it possible?
I think you can get more comfortable with it. I think it's not a quick process.
Yeah.
I think it takes effort. And I don't think it's a one-person game. I think you need other people around you to do it as well. You know, in organisations, always the case. But at home as well, and in your private lives as well, I think you need a group to take it with you, because we all have doubts at times.
Yeah.
You know, and then you've got some, you know, your fan club comes in and helps you.
So if I want to flip that to the workplace, so if your who would be your fan club, if you like? If you take any system that you would have worked with recently in your role as practitioner.
Yeah. Who would be my fan club? The people I work with. So my colleagues would be my fan club. Sometimes my wife. And sometimes friends who, you know, I just talk to. Yeah. You know, having a coffee or a glass of wine with them and saying, oh, this happened today and I felt like this and I'm not sure what. And then it kind of helps just sharing it, I think. I
like that you use fan club, because the way I see, and I truly believe this, that if you're an organization and you're struggling to shift, you know what you want. You absolutely know what you want. Ask any leader, they'll tell you. I want to be there, or I want to go there. But when you ask them how it is they're going to get there, they might even have the answers for that, because they would have sat through a strategy. But they now discover that, damn it, man, all of this work that we put in for, you know, this is where we are at, this is what's going to happen next, and it will happen in this way and in this order. They suddenly find that none of the stuff is materializing. People are putting their foot on the brakes very heavily, and matters are just becoming a little bit more chaotic.
And things happen in the outside world that shift things. I mean, if you work in an energy company, who knew that, what President Trump did recently would come to pass? It didn't look so likely. Now all of a sudden things have shifted very quickly. So whoever's had strategies in that industry nowadays that's a big one, that, they would be rethinking it. And a strategy is a forecast, and there's only one thing that is always true about forecasts: they're always wrong.
Yeah.
A little bit or a lot.
They have to be a bit wrong.
So then you have to shift on the way, absolutely. But people expect them to be a nice little step-by-step linear process that they go through, and then it shall happen.
Yeah.
And we're going to walk a straight line to it, and it's never.
I love that you say that, because a lot of the times when I work with client spaces, it's really interesting when you take a nice piece of, either you're using a whiteboard or using a flip chart or just a regular piece of paper, and you were to draw this sort of staircase thing. And that's how we all have been taught to develop a strategy. So I start here. If I do this, I'm going to end up over there. And if I do this, I'm going to end up over there. And eventually I'll end up there where I said I want to be. More and more we're finding that people are not having that staircase reality for themselves at all. It's now looking like, here's my starting position, I'm here. Or this is my A position, my B position is over there. But it's not a staircase. It's this sort of messy spiral.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I feel sorry for a lot of organizations who know what it is that they want, know how it is that they're going to get there. But in the implementation of it, they just discover that my people are not moving with me. Why is that? And I wanna bring this right back to your, when we spoke on Teams, you had this nice background on Microsoft Teams.
Did I? Oh, yes,
Yes,
I did.
you do. Yes, you do.
I did.
In fact, you have just beneath contract's name, it speaks to humane
Economy, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it inspiring a humane economy?
It is.
Yes.
Inspiring a humane economy. Which we've always believed in, but hadn't really captured it so nicely, so pithily as that until relatively recently. But I think it comes from our belief that what our organisations, a bunch of people put together to try and do something for a market or a group of other people, and it's kind of making sure that the people in the organisations are treated well, so they can be at their best, so the organisation can do well and be at its best, and then they're connected. So the economy is the practical stuff, and the humane is the people part, and they are yin and yang, in our opinion.
I love that. I love when I remember speaking to you, and I remember exactly how I felt. I didn't speak to it because we had a specific topic to be speaking about. But I really do like how human and humane is not something that is outsourced to a particular department. Let's call it HR, for an example.
Yeah.
I love that contract puts that so front of mind, that it actually is part of your tagline. And I got really curious about why it is, or what is it that you're sensing for that to be so important to contract.
Well, yeah, I mean, we consult and develop people, in organisations, individuals, teams, and the whole organisation at times, leaders particularly. And I think one of the things that we're noticing nowadays is that all of those elements, individuals, teams, and organisations, are under stress, under strain, and it comes through in lots of data, lots of research. We see that all the time, but we also see it in our day-to-day activity. We do a lot of coaching with leaders, and they speak to us about, I am changing, I am trying, but there's something in the system that's blocking it. I know where I want to get to, I know what the strategy is, and I'm doing all I can, but I'm very frustrated, and I feel disheartened by it all. And we're kind of realising, certainly in the last 2 or 3 years, it's the system is not working well, the organisations aren't working well, for whatever reason, and that might be different, but that it's a systemic issue as much as anything, I think.
And you've just raised a really, really big issue. big enough for trend briefing for consultants to become a workshop, if you like, all of its own. This was facilitated just last week by the Reinvention Academy. Now, I've attended a few of those. And I had to ask myself, well, what are you doing here again? Because you've sat through this a few times. You almost know what Nadia is going to say. Interestingly. And it doesn't matter how many times you attend one of those sessions or a easy reinvention lab, there's always something new because things change so fast. So when you said there's something not right or not well with the system, something jumped out for me when you said that now, and that's the Gallup stat that Nadia shared in that presentation. So Gallup 2026's research findings shared with us that middle management is now scoring 9 points less than they did in 2022 for engagement levels. I think the point system was 33 or 31, there and thereabouts in 2022, and we're now sitting at 22. I'm not going to try and put that into percentages or into any kind of calculation, but I want us to talk a little bit about what it means when your middle management is disengaged by a larger percentage than they were a couple of years ago. 2022, not that far off from 2025, closer to 2020 and the aftermath. We're in 2026 and people might be feeling like, we should have calmed down by now. In fact, we've never calmed down. We've only just the speed of change has increased dramatically, and it's not going to be stopping anytime soon. This is our new normal. Now, when you have in your work that you do with your clients that particular thing going wrong, where your middle management must carry the weight of this work, what's the impact there?
And I saw that as well. I saw this stat and I thought, wow, that is really concerning, because that's kind of 1 in 5 managers. Well, 4 in 5 managers are disengaged or totally engaged. And particularly that level of leaders set the tone, set the direction, set the strategy. Middle managers are the engine room to make things happen in the organisation. And obviously the employees do the work, but it's the middle managers that act as that translation from strategy into action, initiate things, oversee things, hopefully lead things, maybe manage them too tightly at times. We can talk about that as well. But if 4 out of 5 of them are not engaged, then that's not going to happen. So there's lots of stats about change in transformation activities, change projects not being successful, and maybe it's the lack of management energy and effort that they're willing to put in to make things happen.
I just drew a big sigh now, and it's exactly this. I just heard myself. It's a big sigh that I drew when I was watching, or when I was sitting through the briefing, because I thought, my goodness, here we are as practitioners planning around how it is that we're going to engage our client systems, what tools will we use, which conversations are we going to have, all of those things, and without the Gallup stat, not knowing that as a practitioner might be where the frustration often comes from sometimes. As a practitioner, you know you're using a different set of methodology or a different methodology and a different set of tools. You're making a lot more headway than you have with your older tools, but you're feeling like you're just not getting past that. And by the same token, if a practitioner feels like that, then I feel really, really sorry for the leadership team and the person right on top. Because you've got a place that you need to go to. You have managers who I believe, and this is my translation of it, are now sitting with an identity crisis. Because when I started in this job, my job was to make sure that these things happen. I've got KPIs, I've got jobs to be done, I've got people to manage. Now my job's completely different. And I don't think anybody has taken the time in systems where this is prevalent now to explain to them that, yes, you are still that middle manager, and your job now begins to feel almost like more senior management, because now you have to look at strategy, you have to help your team to understand what it is that needs to shift inside them. But how on earth do you do that if you don't know how to make that shift yourself?
It's a great question. And that sometimes takes conversations with other people, and some managers do have those conversations, but others don't, either because they don't want to be seen as not coping. They don't have people around them that they trust. They don't have people around them that they think are capable to help them. So there's a lot of kind of blockages and barriers for them. And sometimes, as practitioners, external practitioners, you are a safe pair of ears.
Yes.
And even if it's just somebody to talk to, we've got a client we're working with at the moment, highly regulated environment, highly regulated, and so they manage a lot through the regulations and policies and procedures because they have to. But they're what I would call an organisation that's overmanaged but underled. So they're not dealing with the people side of it, and it's manager level and so on, and it's quite bureaucratic, so they feel overwhelmed by this kind of bureaucracy and stuff. And then they get into, there's kind of some examples of blaming others and all that sort of thing. So I wouldn't describe it as a particularly healthy and positive and constructive organisation. And so one of the things we're doing is helping them as leaders and managers, particularly the leaders and managers, to shift the way they're operating a little bit and the way they're treating each other and treating people in the organisation, to get out of that cycle of over-managing and then criticising people and criticising yourself and being hard. It's a hard place, and be a softer, more helping people to be better rather than criticising them for not hitting the policy, not hitting the procedures, not hitting the regulations. So you have to break that cycle in some way, and that's not a quick fix, but it's about the culture, really. It's about the culture, the people in the organisation, because you can't change the regs, that they're fixed, and the people's there, and the work that they have to do is still there. That doesn't go away either. So it's about the people, really.
Yeah, and the more you say that, the more I can hear and see how overwhelmed leadership teams, if they were to hear you without going through any of your facilitated work, might be swearing at you right now. What do you mean be softer with people? What do you mean authenticity? What do you mean vulnerability?
Yeah.
How do we bring all of that into the workplace when we've got to go somewhere, Phil? We've got to be somewhere.
But you can be tough with people.
Yeah.
Still, but not criticise them. So you can have conversations. Well, that didn't hit the mark. Let's have a look at how you can do it next time. So there's a tough message there, but you can still be supportive and constructive, because at the end of the day, organisations want to do have to do well to survive. So they have to increase the performance level, and it's our way of helping achieve that. So it's tough and fair rather than tough and unfair. Yeah. I think that's what we're trying to shift. So the toughness is still there.
I really like to think that change begins when we're looking at seeing. And it's deepened by how we're listening. And those are sensory sort of terms.
Yeah.
But if we're going to be getting any good at listening and at seeing in the workplace, regardless of which position you hold or where on the organogram you sit, if you're not turning those two concepts into actual doing things, actions, verbs, we're taking it right down to basic verb, then we're just having many, many conversations about this. So can we talk a little bit about how we verbalise seeing and listening in the workplace in the context of what is going on and what should I be paying attention to?
Seeing and listening.
Yeah.
As somebody who's trying to make change.
Yes.
Or shift something. I think you look for signals and things that are happening, and ask questions about what's going on, why, and listen to the answers.
Yeah.
And kind of try and peel back the layers of the onion to try and find the problem, the base problem, not the symptoms.
And this can come about with we don't have the answers to everything. I don't want the show to ever sound like we have the answers for everything, but we do have ideas worth sharing. If I say make listening and seeing a verb, I'm sort of inviting anybody who's listening to go, all right, how many meetings do I have in the week or in a month? How many of them are actually necessary? How many of them are looking at the past, what we did last week, last month, last year.
Yeah.
How many of them do you or could you leverage for your organization by changing even just one of those meetings to forward-facing conversations where laptops are closed, people are not focused on what happened last week or this morning even. They walk into this space that's created for them to be talking about where it is they're meant to be going or where they want to go.
Yeah. Or even shift the percentage.
Yes.
So sometimes there's a long meeting, I don't know, let's say an hour, 2 hours, an hour. And then 40 minutes is looking back, 5 minutes is waiting for people to arrive at the start because everybody's late, maybe 10. And then you've got 5 or 10 minutes at the end looking forward and trying to find solutions and ways forward. And it's not enough. And I like to be in meetings where we quickly establish the issue and then spend longer exploring what are the options and how to get forward, which is hard, because particularly in an organisation where we were talking about engagement, people aren't engaged. They're checked out. They're not really interested in exploring that. What's the point? It's not going to go well anyway. It's going to fail, or we're not going to make a big difference. And with that kind of mindset, you're not. Obviously, you get what you think. But it's up to, and this is where managers come in. If they are good, they come in and to set the tone about, we've got a purpose here. We can do it, and bringing hope in to play.
I keep forgetting to speak to our viewers because the conversation with you is always interesting. No. I want to say to viewers, if there's anything that we've said so far that resonates with you, if you've had an aha moment or a moment where you felt like that feels familiar, that feels like what it feels like for me in my role, then we're asking you to please click subscribe. In fact, do one better and just drop us a comment, because we do have a situation or a scenario where once we're aired, once we've premiered, I'm actually really going to be looking at the comments, and I'm actually really going to be responding to them because I think it's important. Yeah. And maybe one day in the future we'll have, I'm looking at our producer for the camera, if I keep looking that way for viewers to understand. Maybe one day we'll have a live show and we'll invite you in so that we can actually have your conversations and your questions. But for now, use those comment boxes and please subscribe.
And finding the solutions is never easy because every organisation is unique. All the people inside it is unique. So you have to find your own unique solutions and experiment and try and find a way forward. Sometimes you try things that don't work. Well, stop. Try something else. And that's one of the interesting and challenging things about working in organisations.
It strikes me now, Phil, if I look at we talk about the business S-curve or the life cycle.
Yep.
And I feel we spoke about the business S-curve and the life cycle in episode 1. And I hope that the production team will drop in the business S-curve again for us, in particular this point, because what I do want to be saying to our viewers, or maybe it's a question maybe for you, not a question, but a conversational point, that if we feel that middle manager's job is changing, I have the sense that the job or the role or the function of middle management is sitting on the right side of that S-curve. That role and function is now a role and function that's in decline, meaning it's no longer serving the organization. And if I were to ask you what that feels like for a middle manager, I'm coming up with words like not just disengaged, but lacks the capacity to onboard this humongous job that you've asked them to do. Yeah. So they're not able to consolidate the job that they were employed to do and the job that you now need them to do.
No, and I guess that role has shifted quite a lot because it's got the bandwidth required now to keep on top of all the things that are going on is, phenomenal. Some people have it, some people struggle with it. And the pace in which things are changing. So you set plans, you do them, and you start them, and then something shifts, so you don't make much headway. So you're almost taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back all the time. Whereas in a more, kind of, I don't know, maybe even 10 years ago, you could make more progress. It felt, and that's what engages people. So seeing results, seeing things, and that's one of the things that I think they are struggling with. Seeing lack of results, lack of progress, wading through treacle, that kind of metaphor, I think. And it is relentless.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a lot of sympathy for them. And in larger organisations, so they've got, matrix organisations, that some of them are global, and it is very complex, really complex. And therefore, it's not easy to find easy ways forward for them. And also, the other thing is, a lot of organisations have stripped out levels, so they've got bigger teams, or they've stripped out the number of employees to do a certain number of jobs. Nowadays, we've got AI on board as well, so now you've got trying to learn how that works and where it's going to be effective, where it's going to add value, where it's not. So there's so much more complexity to manage that's what makes it tricky, I think.
There's so much that makes the work that organizations do tricky. My goodness, I'm taking myself back right now in this very moment. I can take myself back to a client. It was 2019. Yes, it was a manufacturing environment, an assembly line, and the role that I was in, what I was contracted to do there, was to basically channel the changes in engineering. So the design part of the team changed how they would now make this. It's a wheelchair, actually. And then for those technical changes to filter down onto the production or into the production environment, so that it could flow. New change, new tech spec sheet. Operator now needs to know how to do this differently. And it's really, really interesting because as the contractor, so you're on the outside. So you come in, you plug in and you play, you plug in and you play, and you plug out again. And I started realizing that, leadership seems to know what it is that they've contracted me to do. But it's middle management that didn't really understand, what they were saying was, our manager or our top person is really very creative, very innovative on top of things. So you can hear that we're very used to things changing. We're very used to it, but we don't really understand why we're doing this particular change.
No.
And I remember calling back the CEO there and saying, I think it's time, and I think it's going to be of great value if you say to your people what's sitting here and what's sitting here. Because it's one thing to talk KPIs and to talk about ops, but when people don't really understand the human aspect.
So, true. But
what is it that you want as a CEO?
Why
do you want it?
And it sounds like you're talking about there's a communication breakdown somewhere along the line from coming through. And I think that's one of the things that people talk a lot, but they don't really connect and communicate a lot. And that's what you're saying, what's going on here.
Back in the day, you could say, well, we're going to change this, and you'd call in a consultant, and the consultant would come in, do a gap analysis, leave you the PowerPoint slide, and say, you're full.
Bish, bash, bosh.
Here's your PowerPoint slide.
Good old days.
You should be able to move with all of this stuff now. I've given you a lot of my IP, and I've shown you exactly where the gaps are, and I've shown you, I've maybe talked you through on PowerPoint how to make sure that those changes are put into play, but they leave. They leave. And before I go on with that story, I also just want to highlight the fact that is a content facilitator. What we do as practitioners in the Reinvention Academy, or let's just say, wherever we are in the world, because all of us actually operate independently, is not content facilitation.
No.
We do things very differently. Not because we want to, not because we think it's cute or it's smart, it's what the market demands, it's what our clients demand, those clients who are needing to change. So what we do specialize in is process facilitation. So earlier on when I asked about how do we get people to absorb what it is that the CEO, the leadership team is telling them to do, how does a practitioner help in that way?
Well, where do you start? Quite a lot. Well, I guess one of the things is getting them to stand out of things and look at the bigger picture. So there's a kind of meta level thing that we try and help senior leaders to look at, rather than getting in the weeds and looking at all the little bits. So looking at the system as a whole, and then working with them, co-creating with them sometimes how to move things that they've identified. And sometimes they don't see the meta level issues, but by listening to them, we can say, well, is it this or that? I'm hearing you talk about that a lot, or that a lot, or this a lot. This is coming through. And then we check with them. We don't tell them, because we're not experts in their business. We don't work there on a day-to-day level. But you get normalized by all the day-to-day stuff if you're in it too much. And that's one of the values I think that we try to bring, whether it's on a one-on-one with a leader or with a team or with a department or whatever level it is. You can reflect back some of the big picture that you've seen, I think is one way. But it's always a co-creation, always, always, always.
Yeah, and I think a lot about CEOs or people in those positions.
Yeah.
And I also think a lot about, well, what you made me think about now actually is there's a different survey that I think Reinvention Academy also did some time ago. Can't exactly remember the date, wasn't that long ago, about 2 years back. And I remember the survey being completed by about 4,000 CEOs globally. And one of the findings or the insights that came from that piece of work was that the people who are meant to be driving the change and who want it the most, so your CEOs are often the ones who are spending the least amount of time making that possible and creating the environment for it. And they're not bad people.
No. But
it's a case of not really knowing. You said it earlier on so beautifully. I'm this hamster on this wheel. I don't know when it is. When do I give myself permission to just stop? Stop the wheel, get off the bus, gather your people, have a conversation, because you don't need permission to do that.
I'm going to mention my wife now. So she's a very senior person in an organisation and a global organisation. She's a C-suite person, and obviously she talks to me about some of the things that are going on. And one of the things that I hear from her quite often is, I can't get out of, can't is a strong word. I really find it difficult to get out of resolving all the very tricky problems, because they all flow up. And if you're moving fast and trying to do a lot of things, there's a lot that can flow up. So getting into that mode of trying to shift things or be strategic is really tricky, because you keep getting pulled down into the weeds by people below you. So you need good teams to try and prevent that. And she has a reasonably good team, but still some flow upwards. And you need a good system with the right infrastructure and the right communication practices. And there's a lot to get right. Some organisations do it. And you mentioned the engagement, middle management engagement. Some of the best operating most successful organisations have figures up at 60 or 65, high 60%, which is brilliant. I mean, but they are successful because of that. You need high engagement to be successful, because that's when people are giving more to their role and to their people around them, and to their strategic priorities and direction.
And just to give some hope to our viewers in this very moment, this dynamic that we've been speaking about now, the decline of engagement by people in workplaces, it's disheartening. If you're listening to this, you might feel that, oh my goodness, if that's the stat, I might as well just give up hope, because that's the stat. And we teach you something else completely, because if you know where your starting point is, it's better, because then you're able to design around that. And we mentioned earlier on that this podcast and every single episode is usually based on 3 pillars. When we're being practitioners who are learning to be practitioners, or learning new tools, or just learning from others how they apply the tools, we speak about anticipating change, learning how to design change, and then learning how to execute it. We try to simplify that, so it's just less words to speak, and we speak about the first P being predicting. And we spoke a little bit about how easily accessible these research findings are.
Yeah.
And it's not just research findings that you need to go and look for in terms of being able to predict. You could literally sit with your team and ask each person in your organization or in your departments, what is it that you are seeing that could be, or that you see, and you could describe as a potential iceberg, like we call it. You don't have to do significantly expensive things or complex things, but it's important to ask everybody, where do you see the next point that we're going to become stuck or we're going to hit an iceberg? Because if we ignore that, it also drives the disengagement. I'm trying to tell you that there's an iceberg, but you can't hear me. Or you don't want to hear me.
And the people in the kind of cold face of the organisation, they know what some of the challenges and issues are, and they often have solutions. But the simplest solution we always talk about is managers ask questions of your people and listen to them. In there will be some gems that you can find ways forward to, and that's where the hope is. And I don't think that happens enough.
Take me back to the job that we actually do as practitioners. Is really to help people to find themselves in a space where it's a psychologically safe space. Because if you don't have that commitment from your upper level, if people don't feel safe enough to tell you that there's an iceberg up ahead because they feel that you're not going to listen to them, or you feel that they have to translate this for you and they don't really have the words for it right now. All they can tell you is, oh my goodness, I see something, we're about to crash. Or something, a competitor, piece of regulation, a change in market, all of those things. When those things begin to happen and your middle management can see it, and you're not giving them a space to actually pause, so stop the ops just for a little while. It can be an hour, it doesn't have to be a full day and a half. We can actually hear them, and then we can ask people to look at each other's, shall we say, icebergs. Crispin Swartz, also a colleague of ours, he actually gave me such a nice, well, not just to me, but he gave to a group of us, something so easy. And I almost think that you did something similar, where you had flip charts up on the wall, and let's say you're finance, and I'm HR, and he would be marketing. We'd ask each department on their own to list their potential icebergs. And then for each team or each unit to walk across to the other person and go like, oh, I didn't know that that is something that I should even be concerned about. I wouldn't even have known that. And unless you're doing, and that's cost you no money other than the amount of money that somebody earns per hour that you pay anyway.
A little bit of time.
A little bit of time. But you have to be intentional about it. You have to, more than want it, you've got to structure it, right? Like you structure whatever it is, whatever meeting you've got.
And I think the other thing is that managers can provide hope. So one of the things, some organisations, not all of them, but some organisations talk about right and wrong, failed, successful. So they're very kind of definitive words. It's very black and white, basically. But that's not how life is. It's all about, we're here and we need to get there. So it's all about scale. So that's where the hope is. All right, let's see if we can improve. How do we improve? We can improve. We just need to do this and this. That's it. So keep things simple, simplify rather than overcomplicate, and talk about progression and moving forward, not about, oh, you did that wrong. No, we can do that better. It's different. It's more hopeful. It's not as crushing to hear you did that wrong. I mean, I hate somebody coming up to me and saying, that's wrong. Because how does that help people? How does that make people feel better? It absolutely does not. So, we could do that better. Oh, now I'm engaged. Okay, how do you do it? How do we do it better then? And that's just so. It feels very simplistic, but if more organisations said that, I think they would help. It would help engagement, and it would help cultures, and it would help performance.
Yes, because it's really is. I mean, our work really is about engagement. I know we have our peers in organisation development spaces, HR spaces.
But if you haven't got that, you've got nothing. I mean, it's like I would mention this before. It's like sports. If you don't want to win, if you aren't willing to give effort, then you're not gonna win. You know, you step onto the pitch, you're gonna lose. And if you haven't got that as in an organisation, you've got no chance of being successful.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
You can't really win, can you, if you're not playing to win?
No.
If you're not structured to win. We spoke about it at the table earlier on. We spoke a little bit about F1. And this series on Netflix, we spoke about how important it is to know. To notice, actually, not to know, but to notice. Just catch one of those episodes. They do it unintentionally. But you have the car, you have the track, you have the driver. That's all we see as viewers. All right. Well, in the series, we see more than that. But if you're just watching a Saturday game, that's all you see. But what you don't see is the engine room in the background. The engine room isn't one person. No. But the engine room, certainly in terms of temperature, is driven by one person. So your principal. I think it's called I'm not sure. I don't know all the F1 terminology, but your team principal.
Yeah.
That person is the one who brings the energy. That person is the one who drives the tone and the theme and not necessarily the direction. Because I found that quite interesting. Because if you're sitting as a team principal, you're not going to hire people to do work that you already can do. You're going to hire people to do the work that you actually are not good at, or that you can't do, and you're not going to stop them from doing the work.
No.
So why did you hire them?
Exactly.
So I have this one episode where I don't know who was in the car, but I know that Lewis Hamilton was right behind this person, and he was doing really, really well. And the team principal must have said, you know, Hamilton is about 6 seconds behind you. And I sat there and I went like, oh my goodness, shame. What is this driver feeling? But it was fascinating to watch the driver's response. You know, what he did for me was just magic. And I wish I just knew who I was talking about right now. But you'll have to forgive me, those who are F1 people. That driver decided, you know what? This is not helping me to stress about Hamilton that's 6 seconds behind me. I'm actually going to pit stop now. I'm going to get my car checked because I know I have to have it checked. I just don't know when. But since this guy is so close on my tail, I'm going to stop for a pit stop earlier than normal because that's going to give me the confidence to know that my engine is going to take me to the finish line.
Absolutely.
Whether I beat Hamilton or not, the point is to get to the finish line. Obviously, you want some kind of pole position. But you don't want to end up at the back of the pack and you don't want your car to stall and you don't want to crash. No. So sometimes it's not about winning. Sometimes it's crossing the finish line.
Yes. Always.
Then
you've got to, if you don't cross the finish line, you cannot score points, can you? That's the
you
thing.
don't score
so
points.
You're out of the race. And as a business, being sustainable is the most important thing. You know, and staying in the game and staying relevant and staying valid, and that requires little constant improvement.
And I think another insight from just watching was how the team principal or other psychologists, actually, they're equipped with the psychologists as well. Really, really important stuff. I'm not saying every workplace should have a psychologist, but you've got to ask why does an F1 team, who has one racer in one car, have a person like that? You know, what is the job of the head coach? Why is this even necessary? You know.
Well, I think the
talent should be enough.
Yeah, and you need that, obviously. But I think, particularly with leaders, I think before you can lead others well, you have to be able to lead yourself well and know yourself well and be able to manage your emotions as well as your rational part of. And if you can't do that, then you're really going to struggle to connect and influence and engage and excite and get your teams motivated and hopeful. So it starts with I but ends in we as with the leadership, and you have to be good, and the best are good at both. And one of the challenges in organisations with the pace that's going on, often leaders don't have enough time to go, or feel like they don't have enough time to go inside. And it might not take long, but there's that constant check about this is, as a leader, it's just me. That's all I've got, and how I connect with people. So this body, this mind, this heart, this spirit I have, the energy I have are the tools to connect with other people.
Sorry, I'm having a little giggle. I'm trying to feel what I might feel if I was a team principal and I need to make sure that the guy in the car or the woman in the car is actually going to finish the race.
Yeah, I know.
How frustrating must that be? Because you're
Well,
not actually, you
you're
can't
not in the
drive
car. I know, you're miles away.
So what's left for you to do as a team principal when you see your driver not doing good? Let me ask you, like, what kind of conversation did you pick up on?
Well, you can do. Well, you can have positive, hopeful conversations
Yeah.
before and after,
Yeah.
and get them to and get them to look at. Obviously, they've got a lot of data to look at and all that sort of
Yeah.
technical stuff, but look at and help the person look at what's going on inside for them as a driver, as well as what's going on for them in terms of skills and stuff like that. So it's the conversations around.
It's always getting the driver to focus on the job at hand.
Yeah.
And not be sort of sidetracked by the peripheral things.
The nonsense that's going on. Yeah,
and often, where's the nonsense? The nonsense is often
in your head.
In your head, yeah.
Or in around them with the media circus and all that sort of stuff. But in an organisation, to bring it back to organisations, the nonsense for individuals is often in their head, or often in the organisation, where you get distracted and pulled this way and that, and there's gossip and and if the leader's not communicating and connecting well enough, there's a vacuum, so people make stuff up about this, that, and the other, and it's very easy to get pulled off centre, if you like.
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned those very human things that happen in an organization.
Yeah.
And it's probably the thing that drags organizations down so much. And it's probably one of the easiest things to fix.
Yeah.
Because if you are team principal and you're telling your team that this kind of conduct or this kind of response to each other is simply not something that we tolerate, you already make this major shift in capability. Because back to the F1 team, I'm pretty sure with those big egos and everybody's so smart and so capable. Otherwise, I mean, how do you get you can't get your team to win.
No.
If you are not confident about your skills and your capabilities. No. And to note that those skills and capabilities are not people on the track. They're sitting in the engine room, or they're sitting at the back of a computer.
Yes.
But on race day, it's a team.
It is.
It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter what happened this morning. It doesn't matter what happened in the last race. What matters is now.
Yeah.
And you don't, maybe they don't show that on in the episodes, but I mean, I've seen enough of really high stakes conversations. Yeah. So they haven't been hiding a lot of that from us, from views of this F1 series.
But they do have a lot, and leaders have to be able to have those.
Yeah.
And have those conversations, and maybe using often a good way into it is finding stories that are around, that are relevant, that you can use to inspire people and lead them towards doing whatever's required.
Yeah. I want to talk about, if you've got, because I've got one or two client stories that I could share. I really would like for viewers to get a sense of how we make this all practical, because we spoke a lot about, the work that we can do, the work that we do. It's all we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But if you do have a client story, so I'll also share one.
What would I share?
Yeah.
Well, I already shared one earlier about the heavily regulated one.
Yeah.
I guess there's also one that I wasn't involved in directly, but a colleague of mine recently was an organisation that was about to go into a restructure.
Yeah.
And it was with not all of the leaders, but a team that was going to be involved in managing this or implementing it. And the mentality that they had was going beforehand. They knew it was coming, they'd done them before, but they realised that they weren't, whilst they were good at all the technical elements that were needed, about managing the change for themselves and for the people that were going to be affected by the change. They weren't very good at it. So they called us in to help them understand what happens internally in change processes, all the uncertainty and anxiety and stuff like that for them and others. And how to manage, and not manage, that's the wrong word, how to connect with people and help them understand and cope with it better. So that was one that we had. And in terms of practical things, first of all, we got them away together as a team so that they could share and talk about it. We shared a few frameworks and a few kind of bits of research. some content, some simple framework things to just help them understand what happens, what are the processes, what are the phases, what are the emotions that's likely to happen, and then some discussions that we helped them work through. That was, how are we going to deal with X when this happens? How are we going to deal with Y, which is likely to happen? So those are the things that we do often help with them. Even like a simple template, really, about how to have a particular type of conversation. So one about how do you give good feedback, which is bad news, and cope with the, and some already knew but wanted a refresher, and some time to practice it and think about it and work out how their communication style or pattern landed on somebody else. So there's a lot of practice and very practical, small tools that aren't very complex, but do work if you apply them well. So that was an example of some of the things that we do. It's a little bit of content, but nothing earth-shattering. Nothing so stupidly complex. Very simple. We like to have tools. If you can't carry it around in your head, it's pointless having it.
Yeah.
If it has to sit on a folder, forget it. It has to be in your head, and to be able to use it. And we also use some of the latest thinking and from the Reinvention Academy. I also like a guy called Sam Conniff, who's uncertainty expert. He looks at uncertainty and some of the neurological kind of work. David Rock, not Chris Rock. That's David Rock. Also a new, had what makes people rattled in times of change, and there are some specific things that he identified, which might be, one is about uncertainty.
Yeah, we don't like uncertainty.
No, we don't.
We like knowing things. We like knowing which direction we're going. We are hardwired to not be okay with anything that's uncertain. Whether it's life, whether it's in the workplace. And I think the biggest job of a practitioner and of a leadership team is to get people to be okay with the fact that we don't actually have the answers.
No,
it's okay that we don't have the answers.
No, it's difficult because even down to everyday things. I message you, where am I going? I don't know where am I going in terms of arriving here today? Where's the address? So that uncertainty, or what's the weather going to be like? So we like to hang on to this. I mean, I'm a big football fan out. Liverpool, Manchester United are playing this afternoon. I want to know whether we're going to win or not. And that's exciting, but also kind of worrying as well. So we like to know things. You're right, we like to know things.
And it's, we like to know, and when you said we like to know, your eyes lit up. And yes, when we do know, we feel confident. We can start feeling good, positive feelings. But we can also learn to feel those positive feelings with uncertainty.
Yeah.
And it starts with a simple position.
Yeah.
Make a mistake, because if you don't make the mistake, make the mistake, but respond with curiosity.
Yeah.
Explore what happened there when you make the mistake.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't, you're never going to be happy with the uncertainty.
Well, I think one of the reasons I like, as I said earlier on, I said my first thing is yes, I'll say yes.
Yeah.
Because I get bored very easily, so I like new things. So I get very curious about new things. So whenever you don't know what's going to happen, it could be new.
Yeah.
So I think the novelty and newness about things could be something that leaders should focus on more. Not what people are losing, but what people could gain by doing something differently. Yes. And that's where the excitement and hope is. It could be, it's like people, I don't understand people who go on holiday to the same place every single year. It's great, I love it there. Yeah, well, but what other great places are out there that you're missing out on? So it works both ways.
Yeah. So I think I would share a little story before I go into the next session, which I think it's time to summarize a little bit for, I guess, what it is we were speaking about. Mind you, while I gather my thoughts, please would you hit the subscribe button. Ask us questions. We can talk like this for hours and hours, Phil and I. And if there's anything that landed for you, or you want to ask a little bit more, you want us to deep dive, please feel free to drop that in the comment for us. We definitely do go and check on these comments. We're actually quite excited to go and find that you are engaging with us. And your questions help us to understand what your needs are. Because a lot of the work we do it's quite customized. The methodology is the same. The tool works, or the frameworks are the same. It's just such a blessing that it's so universal. But we understand that whoever's watching might be asking, okay, this is great to hear. It's all sounding quite theoretical, but how do I take what it is that Phil and Adelia or our previous guests have been speaking about? You're most welcome to drop us a call. We even make ourselves available, or I, for one, would make myself available for what we call a chemistry call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to get a sense of, what's working for you, what's no longer working for you, what's keeping you up at night. We promise not to have answers for you in a session like that, but it's to help you feel okay with the fact that you have things that are not going well, and that there are ways and means to get around that, which really is just to ground and be okay with the fact that you don't have the answers. There's very few people, very few organizations or industries that actually have answers right now. Everybody's got uncertainty. Absolutely everyone.
Yep.
And the less we gloat about, oh, have you seen my competitor? Doesn't really know what to do. The less we do of that, and the more we go like, why is that happening? How is it that two players in the same industry are having a very similar experience? And please go and knock on the door of the competitor. Please do that, because you're going to learn the most. I think the time for being really, really afraid of speaking to your competitor, it's gone. I mean, we have this thing called co-opetition.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid, because you hold different pockets of the markets. I have a friend who has a sort of a retail, I'm going to call it a retail shop for now. And in his industry, there's about 12 of these shops or stores along sort of one strip. And he had one of the competitors, because he was last in, if you like, in that road, who came to figure out, come to ask, what is it that you guys are doing? And after a nice conversation, it became a case of, oh no, but you guys are the competitors. And he said, no, we sell the same product. But the client that I serve, it's not because I chose that person's profile. I just chose to be a certain way. I wanted to be attractive to this kind of person. This is the experience I wanted to create. And unless you're doing the same and we're targeting the same person, we're actually not in competition at all. We have the same businesses, and there's plenty of businesses who exist in industries that are offering what might look like to the customer as the same thing. Definitely not. But I want to summarize a little bit. Oh no, let me just do one more share, because I think the client stories are really helpful. So this is before COVID. And this is a story about the demise or the actual closure of a South African, the South African leg, or shall we say, footprint of a global company. And a lot of people just attribute closing of companies to COVID. Now, it happened before then as well, for the same reasons. I think COVID just escalated all of this. So there we had a company who thought that to diversify what it is that we're doing in manufacturing was a good way to grow, and it was the correct strategy. What they did is they thought they would procure from the upstream side. So in plastics injection molding, instead of us ordering for mold to be made by a different company, we'll make the mold. And we'll own that mold, and we'll do it in-house. When the mold needs maintenance, we'll do it. We'll then also manufacture the plastic component that we actually need. We'll do the finishing, and we'll send it in-house. So all they did is, it's very smart actually, to take all of your upstream planning and bring it in-house. Major change for people, because people didn't understand, like, what are you doing? This is what it is that we were used to doing for 20 or 30 years before you procured us, or before we were bought. Now you're asking us to live together? We don't understand this. And I wish that I had a lot more capability then as a change manager than I have right now. But that's a really good example of good intention not bad leadership,
Mm-hmm.
change in market so dramatic because they had one major client
Yeah.
who was procuring, and when that client decided, hang on a second, regulation is telling us to slow down, a large part of that business started to fail naturally because my main customer is now no longer there. What do I do?
Yeah.
They didn't just sit there. They actually did. They did quite a significant thing, but they also had changes in ownership on the global level. So you had all of these constraints coming, and it made a lot of sense then to rather to close the company. But it's a very painful thing
Yeah.
when companies are closing. So it's not.
No.
It's not something that anybody, I think, takes lightly.
No.
But I think that's the work that we do. We really do try and give people a sense of. You mentioned hope so many times, and I think when people start to genuinely feel that the work that I'm meant to be doing is not just to feel the hope, but to allow it to see through the business. That's my job as a CEO.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, I'm the seller of hope.
Yeah. The seller of hope. I love that actually.
Yeah.
And also, you have to be a seller of hope when there's a gazillion changes
Yes.
and disruptions and things going on at the same time, some of which are totally outside of your control. It's outside external circumstances like the example you've mentioned there, but you've still got to be a seller of hope. And that's, takes some internal resource.
Yeah. I know that I must summarize and we need to probably wrap up now, but there is a question that I haven't asked you yet. And we spoke about it the other day. We were speaking about the shift at contract that you personally are involved in with your LinkedIn. I was really fascinated about that.
Well, I think historically, I mean, we've always done the same things really, but we've shifted them. We decided to do that during this year. We, like most organisations, recovered from COVID. Things were going relatively well, and wanted to invest in some things like the new website, and also rephrase and reframe how we do things, because how we do things has shifted more recently over the last 5 or 6 years, and that's what we had to do as a result of some of the things that were going on with our customers and clients, So we've had to, and we wanted to, I guess, frame it and tell stories about it in a way that was more relevant to clients than it had been. So it's kind of like we're always trying to realign as we go, but with things like a website, that's a bit more tricky.
Yeah.
So we've had to do a jump really in that, and then we are now, and we have done, we do regularly, kind of going to LinkedIn to keep people abreast of some of our newest thinking and some of our newest practices as well.
And when you spoke about that, when you shared what it is that you're doing, yourself and two of your colleagues, this is really, it sounds like, I'm going to say it's easy to do stuff, but it's a major change or shift in the way that you are speaking to your customer. Yeah. The normal way, or the traditional way, is through the website. And these days there are podcasts and there's a couple of other things. Yeah. But reinvention doesn't necessarily have to be these very big things. No. And you made it so beautifully simple.
Yeah, well, we decided to do some, kind of posting on LinkedIn or try and do a bit more of that. I'm somebody who doesn't do an awful lot of it. My two other colleagues do more of it. And we're just trying to up our game in that area. Yeah. So we're a bit more, kind of, I just there really, rather than being secretive or hidden. So we are doing more of that, and each having a little bit of and there's some nuance in some of the things that we would post about or share about or even respond about. So that deals with slightly different parts of what we offer clients as well.
What I was hearing was your clients, or clients in general, do want to know what you're doing, but they don't want to hear this through your website anymore. And you said it nicely. You said people don't buy organizations, they buy individuals. And I know that your reason for being on LinkedIn is not sales, It's just responding to the fact that customers want to hear stories.
Yeah.
They want to know why you're different from somebody else, not by sharing a couple of stats and a couple of wins.
And it's very different. They're very difficult to be different, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we do lots of things that are very similar to lots of other organisations. But
Makes sense.
But nobody else has me and my two colleagues in those organisations. So we have to bring ourselves to that, and hopefully that people like it and want to engage with us and talk to us about stuff.
And you brought it right back to the people.
Yes,
So,
yes, I did.
so I'm going to summarize for our viewers, for those who have just joined. This show is always focused on a very simple framework. We call it our 3 Ps. Phil has just added a 4th P. So it's, it's predicting. So it's how do you anticipate change? What are some ways that you can actually go and find out for yourself? You know, what's happening in my industry? What's happening in my market? What are my customers doing differently? But also, why are they doing this differently? Why do they no longer want to receive my product or my service in the way that I've always been selling it to them? Because there's no point in doing it the same way if they've decided, you know what, this is not what I want anymore. And another way to fulfill a predict or anticipate change is literally go speak to your customer. Go and speak to your customer. Do not be afraid. Focus group sessions, forget the surveys. Nobody cares about them anymore. Unless you're going to be doing a really small survey, which is like 1 or 2 questions at a time over WhatsApp. Don't do a survey and come and say, my customers don't want to answer surveys, and we know that. So you've got to find a different way. Then we have your 2nd P, which is to prepare. So what do I do with this information? Do I continue to try, if I was an F1 driver, do I just use the same vehicle? Do I employ the same driving technique? Or is that not going to crack it? Because the track's different.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the same driver. I'm going to have the same car.
Yeah.
It might be tweaked here and there a little bit, but the track I'm going to be riding on is different. The weather's going to be different. The people are going to be different. Media is going to be different. All of those things play. When I say play, it's actually not a play thing. It's actually quite a serious thing. But it impacts the drivers or the team's performance. Yeah. So you can't continue down that path with the same way you did that, whatever track it was. No. And you can't go and do Isle of Man and think you're just going to get that right. Doesn't work. Isle of Man, not F1 motorcycle racing, but it's a very similar thing. And then your 3rd P is pivoting or pioneering. So I think an organization must always know, what is it that we're wanting to change? Are we arranging ourselves to prepare for a change in how we deliver product or service or pivot? Or are we saying, we're ready to put this down now? Contain or maintain or retain the skills, the capabilities we've got and make something completely different. Yeah. There's a good example in this book. I think it's, I'm going to find and share it after we premiere and after post-production sends us this episode to go live. Or maybe we'll even cut it out and put it in for you. But it's a really good example of a company that used to be manufacturing or used to be really good at manufacturing fans. Industry, big mining fans. That wasn't going well anymore. And what they did is use their capability, their skills, and they went into motors, into automotive motors. And you go like, how did you go from cooling to automotive? It's not that far-fetched. No. You retained your skills, your services. You realize my market doesn't want this anymore, but what is it else that I can manufacture or produce or sell? And then you added the people, which I really do believe is the one criteria that you can change and you can employ new ways of doing things until you're blue in the face. But unless you've realized and you seriously commit to the fact that your people are going to actually employ your strategy for you or deploy your strategy, you're going to have a very beautiful strategy deck, and you're going to sit with the stat that we brought up earlier today, we spoke about.
And that's
in terms of our engagements.
And that's an upstream change.
It's an upstream change.
And then that might bring you better results.
Yeah.
So lots of people measure KPIs, which are outputs, so go further up. It's too late then. When you hit the result, you need to change things in advance.
I love the talk about KPIs, but what I don't love is how we expect a KPI to be fulfilled if the quality of our thinking and the quality of our planning and the quality of our doing doesn't enable that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think also let's be careful about giving people KPIs and you haven't created the space for them to actually prepare to achieve that KPI.
Yeah, becomes a stick to beat people with. Then.
Yeah, well then we're measuring the output.
Yeah,
We're measuring everything at the end of whatever activity it was. And I think that's where the magic lies. It's in the space between this is where we're at and this is where we need to be, the outcome of the KPI. It's all the stuff over here that needs attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, so Phil, this was another amazing chat.
Thank you. No, it was. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, it didn't end up too badly. I do want to say to our listeners that, because I know they're going to be looking at the socials, they would have been hearing me talking about this episode 3 being all about an IT flavor or theme. You can absolutely take everything we do and you can put it into IT. That show will come. Yeah. I'm very proud of how we pivoted. And all it took was a phone call and to tell you, and we spoke about the human aspect of being authentic and being, what's the word I'm looking for? Not being shy of saying, oh my goodness, I am so stressed by the fact that we have to change the show. Like if you don't say those things to somebody who can help ground you, and that happens every day in organizations, don't be afraid to say that I'm out of my depth. I feel like I'm going crazy in the head. I feel like I want to cancel everything. I want to postpone.
It's been real.
Yeah, you have to be real.
Yeah. So often people, they're different outside of work to in work. And they go, well, don't be.
Yeah.
Just be the same.
Absolutely. So I think I want to say to our viewers that in everything that we've shared to you today, if there's even one thing that you want to deep dive on, if you want to ask us a little bit more, we're here for you. In the comments, we're there for you with a phone call or a WhatsApp. We really just want you to subscribe so that we are able to design future shows based around what it is that you want. We spoke about the first P being all about predict. So each time that you drop us a comment, it gives us the data or the insight that we need to be able to plan. It's the same like we were saying earlier on, talk to the customer. While our viewers are not necessarily paying much other than data to listen to us, it still would help us tremendously to build a program or an episode, future-based ones, that are based on what your current needs are. Yeah. And there is no challenge that's too big or too small. Oftentimes, challenges are experienced as feelings, and so we want to downplay them and not speak about them. And we want to talk about challenges with highfalutin business terminologies. The time for that it's gone. Just be human as possible, so that a facilitator, a practitioner gets to understand what's really, really at the core and help you navigate your way through that. It's been good.